I need to tag you. Yeah. Hold on. I need to make it public.
Oh, there you go.
Make it public.
Oh, let me turn this off. Always got to do that.
Yeah. Let's see here. Ladies and gentlemen, what it do? Let me add the bishop on here. The bishop, Cornelius Bowser, a.k.a. Brother Corn.
Brother Corn.
You know what I'm saying?
That's me.
Let's see here.
It's me. It's me. It's me. Oh, Lord.
Oh, he gonna sing a solo tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Bishop gonna hit a solo.
No, not it.
Bishop gonna hit a solo tonight. Let's see here. I realize that my let's see here.
Are you live?
We live, brother. We live. We live.
I don't see the Facebook one. You tagged me?
Yes, I did. You're tagged now. Now you should be.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
All right.
Got it.
What's up, everybody? Or whoever's on. I say everybody as though it's a gang of people on here. It's good to see y'all. How's everybody doing? Hopefully well. We are happy to be here tonight. That's for sure. Good to be on the video. Good to be, as I always say, my brother, my good brother Bishop. It's I always say this every week, and I'm gonna continue to say it. It's always good to be with you, to have a chance to hang out with you, and I say it all the time, and it's true, man. I thank God for you. Whenever I see you doing stuff, you was gone this week up at a conference, and I said, look at this brother. Every week you're doing something. You're going somewhere, and my paradigm shifted when you last week, or a couple of weeks ago now, probably it's been 3 weeks now ago, that you said that you don't want to be a social justice advocate. You want to be you said, I don't want to be known as a social justice advocate. I want to be known as a faith leader. And I said, man, that's so profound, brother. And I said, I like that. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to do too. And I think it's important. I think it's important. I think we were just talking off air right now about how there's an issue. Like, we wanted to talk about what is a very controversial issue. I posted earlier today too, which may have sparked the interest.
Sparked me.
Yeah, no. And I put on my post earlier that Black trans lives matter, right? And I said, and I guess the caption that I put was, many people won't understand this coming from me.
Right.
Because I know.
I understood. I knew what you were saying.
As a religious person, as a faith leader, if you will, not very, and I'm a Christian. I'm unapologetically Christian. I believe in I believe in all the these in the Bible, right? I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me.
That's
I believe that.
Oh, yeah, we know. Yeah.
But I also believe that we exist in a world where everybody doesn't share the same beliefs that we do.
Exactly.
And I understand that it's not my job to browbeat people and to do any of that stuff. My job is to live the life I've been called, to share the gospel with the opportunities that I have. That's what my job is. And I'm okay with that. And I used to be extremely dogmatic before, very in your face.
I know.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And now I feel like that's not the way. That doesn't work. And I feel like being in spaces and having conversations is really what we are called to do.
If we can have those conversations.
Absolutely. And I
a lot of times they shut you down where you can't have a conversation. It's their way or the highway.
Well, let me backtrack. So I'm wearing my homework shirt today. Let me backtrack. I always forget. It's good to kind of have an order. So you guys, most of you know, whoever's watching probably knows the program that was started in January. This is our 10th month. Very grateful. It's an opportunity for formerly incarcerated women and men to get connected to careers in the building trades. And so it was really expanded. We had the opportunity today to speak in front of the labor Dems and represent homework.
The picture I saw you and Tasha there?
Yeah. Okay. No, me and it was me, Sarah Kent, Mary L. Call her.
Wow. I don't know if I saw that.
I don't want to mispronounce her last name, but and Ed Wallace and Manny Vasquez. It was today. We got a chance to talk about it. Senator Pro Tem Tony Atkins was there. She had to leave a little bit early, but so we just got a chance to talk about our program, answer some questions. Very thankful for the opportunities that we're getting to be able to do that. So I'm going to represent Homework as much as I can, simply because of what I love about it. So that's me. And as y'all can see, the bishop is, as my dad would say, cleaner than Swift chitlins right now. Brother Sharp. Y'all can't. This is you sharp today, brother. So
I had to just wear something because I knew you were gonna have me a shirt. and the shirt you just got me, I wore it 3 times this week, so I couldn't wear that today.
Hey.
I said, man, what can I come look like a panther, man?
Panther. Hey.
But man, the Crip of the Blood thing started over. Well, that's one of the arguments. Started over leather jacket, man. So hey.
I remember when I was a youngster, man. You had to have a little money to have a leather coat. Nowadays, it's like it's a trip, man. Like I remember back in the for me in the 70s, it's like, man, I ain't know too many people had leather jackets. I mean, that was like that's you know what I mean. So,
but of course, back in my day, we stole them.
Well, I'm not saying I. Let me just say I never purchased one. How about that?
There you go. I purchased this one, so I'm not stealing no more. My stealing days are over.
That's right.
God always leave me somewhere where I can get a good deal.
That's right. Oh, that's real. What's up, Chaz? Hey, what's up, Darcel? Y'all still here? What's up, Chaz? I was trying to find a way to add folks because I wanted my boy Chaz to come on. We had a really incredible conversation this week. I don't even want to talk about it right now. I want to wait. Because Chaz is not a Christian, but we have good conversations about God. And it was really interesting conversation we had this week. And we've been continuing this conversation about about what the judge did. We've had some conversations this week about the actions of the judge, the reactions of the Christian community to the hug and to the forgiveness, but never to there's never any action on any of the other issues or whatever, which makes the whole hug and all that stuff seem so hypocritical.
And I'm not trying to defend the judge because, I'm always the kind of person that wants to be fair, even at least in my mind, fair mind. I may not have all the facts correct and I may be wrong in what I'm saying. Yeah. But in my own mind, my motive is to be fair. Right. Yeah. And sometimes I have to come back and say, I had the wrong. Yeah. But the narrative that was framed in that is that, she went over and gave her a hug. Did you give everybody else a hug? And, the other deputy was, going through her hair, massaging her hair, whatever it was. And then when you hear the judge speak, you get a whole nother different story. You know what I mean? She said, number one, she went over to the family first and hugged them, whatever she did. And she said the lady asked for a hug. And she said she hesitated first, but then she went on and gave her a hug. And a Bible, I think. And with the hair thing, because a lot of people was attacking the deputy, whoever it was, that was like going through her hair during the hair. But she said that they were not fixing her hair; they were searching her. But that's her story, right? And that's a fact that she's presenting, and that should be considered and heard in the process. Because I still see people pushing that, it was the other scenario. And if we're going to push that, that's fine. But let's lay all the facts out when we do that. And so from my perspective, when I see that, if she was searching her and going through her hair like that, the searching, they do everybody like that because she couldn't go back and be searched. That's a point to be considered. So, you know what I mean?
Oh, I wish, man, I'm so mad that we can't bring my boy Chaz on because he has some commentary for someone that is very familiar. I'm not going to
with the process.
Very familiar with the process, and I don't want to talk about it. But we'll bring it. I'm sure it'll still be hot. We're going to figure something out so that we can bring him on because number one, he's a very prolific thinker. He thinks very deeply about things. We have some incredible conversations. I've known him for about 30 years. Wow. Good brother, a real good brother of mine, and but he has some commentary on that. And I will let him.
And we need to hear that. We need to get because I want to hear. I want to hear it all. I want all the facts.
Don't nobody get searched like that. Yeah. Don't nobody get. When's the last time you saw somebody? Don't nobody get searched like that. Bailiffs don't search people, and not in the presence of the court. Yeah. You only searched her hair when you're going to search her pockets. So we don't search her hair when we get her in the back like we do everybody else. So do we search everybody's hair at the stand? All I'm saying is everything that went on there was a big old It was a big old clown show.
I mean, you know, it was, but you know,
not the young brother.
But you never know.
I don't want to criticize the young brother. What he did is whatever he did for him.
Right.
And he said I speak not for my family, I'm speaking for myself. Mm-hmm. And his mama said, you know, don't let that hug get you twisted and thinking that, you know, it's not over. Right. You know, and so what's up, Tosh? Okay, Chair said I can. Okay. Is it okay for me to talk about what you do? What's up, Tasha? Tasha says lies. Darcel said, "What's up, fellas? What's up, D?" Tasha says lies, and I believe that. Wow. So Chaz works in corrections. He's a correctional officer in Arizona, and that's all I'll say. He works somewhere there, and he says that's just not what happens. That's not. Now, here's the thing. You know, there's different things everywhere in the country. People do different. There's different processes. Here's what I'm saying, man. And I wish people would just like hear this. I'm not saying that she was wrong. You know what I mean? Right. If her recognizing humanity in a person and wanting to affirm and respect a person's humanity, who in their right mind would say you're wrong for being moved by someone's humanity? What I'm saying is that is this the first time? And she's done enough interviews to be able to say that this is something that she does consistently. She does this consistently, and all I'm saying is she has not addressed that. I do this regularly in my courtroom. You all just wouldn't know that because this is the first time that any of my proceedings have been made national news, right? She did not say that. And that has been a topic of conversation. And if she hasn't heard that people are upset about that, why did you choose this case to be the one where the humanity showed? Because how many other people have you given 20 to 30 years for crimes that might not even been murdered? Right. And then that's where I have an issue. I think, you know, the hug thing, you know, for me, after hearing the other side, it's like, okay, you know, it's neither here nor there as far as that. Because if she asked for hug, you know, I right here in San Diego, not so much the judge, but I've seen it, you know, when guys are being sentenced and sent to prison, their mom or their girlfriend in there, and they ask the judge, "Can I come up and give them a hug?" And the judge allows it. You know, you seen it? Oh yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. But that's here in San Diego. Okay, cool. But no, I've seen that. No, for sure. Okay. Yeah, on the real. You know? Cool. I've never seen it. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Then there's nothing. The judge allowed it. Yeah. Hey, there's nothing. So then I think, and I've just never seen it. I've just never seen it. So, hey, what's going on, Nisi? My sister in love. We don't say sister-in-law. We say sister, or we don't say in-laws. We say in-loves because we have a really cool family. What's going on, Nisi? So I just think the whole thing was really weird to me at the end of the day. All of the thing was just really weird. It all got blown out of proportion. And I think that when one of the things, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about with religious conversations about controversial matters. I said Black trans lives matter. And I believe that. The reason why I didn't want to have a conversation tonight about what does that mean for us in the context of being believers, because what we believe about it is going to be it's going to be controversial. It's not going to be what everyone believes. And I'm not afraid to do something contrary to popular opinion. But what I think happens a lot of times is that conversations like that, including things that go on in the courtroom, that we have a responsibility to be able to be responsible with the things that we talk about and have information. The scripture tells us to always be ready to give a reasoned response for the hope that's in us. And so I think that it's important to recognize that my view of human sexuality isn't simply solely based on the fact that it's written in the scriptures. Like there's other things that I believe that are different than what other people believe. Right. And I recognize that. So I don't want to throw out conversations in the midst of something that we're not fully prepared to talk about and be able to defend in a reasonable way. We may, at the end of the day, you and I will come out and we're going to talk about it. I think we believe the same things when it comes to that. But if we're not careful in the public square to be able to talk about it in a way that seems reasonable, right? Then we
and I'm okay with that. But let me just say this, and this is one of the problems that I have with the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
And I have a serious issue with this. And I remember one time I addressed this on Twitter, and one of the politicians, I'm not going to mention his name, stopped following me on Twitter regarding it. But when you look at the church, and I'll say specifically because that's what they say, Black church. I've seen op-eds, opinions written, things posted, saying some harsh and mean-spirited and horrible things about the church, right? And when it comes to the LGBTQ community and things like that, we know those type of some horrible things that have happened to them in the church, and we know that. But just like I can share some stories with you right now about some trans that is perverted and horrible, right?
Sure, of course.
And unlawful and illegal,
of course.
And that they've done. But there's also, I would like to think some that are not that way, I guess. But
I would say maybe, I don't know if even most wouldn't be horrific. But, I don't know. That's not a community that I know a whole lot about, so I can't really.
But my point is that, you know, you don't see nobody from the LGBT community coming and speaking and say, hey, you're wrong for saying that about the church and so on. But when it's on the other side, you know, and it's the other way around, you get attacked from all ends, right? The trans community and everybody else, right? You know, for something that you said or something that you done. And I think that that's wrong. I don't think that that's fair. And we should be able to have a conversation about it without me, like one lady said, you know, was insinuating that I was transphobic, you know, and I think that that's, you know, when you have that going on, that's wrong also. But I don't, the Bible says, you know, don't avoid foolish and stupid arguments because they're unprofitable and useless. So I'm not going to engage with people that come at me stupid. You know what I mean? So, you know, go right along because, you know, I don't have nothing to say to you because you ain't coming at me with a reasonable discussion. You're trying to come in and dive in, attack me. You don't even know me and you don't know where I stand on stuff. If and you talking about you thought, you know, I was acceptance. Just because I posted that, I'm not acceptance. And if you listen to at least a month of my preachings, you would know me and you'll know where I stand on a lot of these things. Probably wouldn't like it, might get offended, but you'll know who I am. Sure. Some people think they know who I am because they see me in the community and I'm a nice guy and I'm trying to help everybody and work with everybody. But you don't know what I believe. You don't know where I stand on issues and things. You do, but I'm talking about people. And so when we look at this or any controversial issue, when you talk about trans, and I like what somebody said to me, having a discussion about trans, and when you say trans women and so on, you know, because this is something else we got to talk about too, is, you know, why is it trans women? If you're a woman, then just say you're a woman. If you're a man, then just say you're a man. Why you got to add trans to it? What does that mean? Trans. What are you telling me when you say you're trans? You know what I mean? So, but I know that's for another discussion and so on, but I just wanted to throw that out there because I think a lot of times when you talk about having that discussion, I don't think we can have that discussion in a fair way because now we go on the conservative side, of course, but the people who are supposed to be considered our allies are the progressives and liberals and people like that. I'm talking about white folks, and they'll be allies as long as you're helping push their agenda. And that's one of the agendas that I believe that they're trying to push, especially to emasculate the Black man. I mean, you know, now, you know, I don't want to go too deep into it.
Well, but here, so here's the thing, bro. Like, listen, I'm not opposed to having any kind of conversations, and I agree. I think just to go back on one of the things you said, hey, Miss Jean, how you doing? Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I agree with what you're saying. I think one of the things that I believe is that you said people don't know you, and I think what happens on both sides of the fence, someone says, "Oh, this person is from the LGBTQ community," and there's automatic assumptions about what that person believes, what they think about whatever. I met somebody. One of the first people that I became, not that I became friends with, but I don't want to expose how I know the brother or whatever, but we used to work together. And we had a deep conversation one day, and he was saying he didn't believe in gay marriage. He was opposed to it. And I was like, huh? I just didn't know. And so I think there's a lot of like assumptions that I've had. And to be honest with you,
that's very true.
Yeah. And so I took
interesting too,
brother. And so in my profession, we have to every year we have to watch the trainings for sexual harassment.
Yeah.
And this year's, I don't know, I don't think last year's had it. I don't think, I could be wrong. I don't remember it, but when you go through like the trans, when you go through the bisexual, you go, like they talk about these different segments of that community, and there's like I think we're ignorant about a lot of the terms. So when you say, why do you say trans this? There's a reason why it's, and I wish I could recall it all, but like I don't study it, and I should do more of it, because I think just as much as I assume a lot about the LGBTQ community and how they view certain things, where they're going to stand, where they're going to, right? Like some LGBTQ community members are upset with Todd Gloria because they're like, he doesn't support the things we're doing. Why doesn't he say anything about black trans then? If you, so, you know what I mean? And so not all LGBTQ community members are anything. And I think conversely, what happens is people hear you're a pastor, you're a bishop, so they assume a whole bunch of stuff about you. They may assume that you're one of the ones that's standing out with those clowns from Westboro Baptist saying God hates fags and all these stupid stuff that is just completely stupid. But what has happened,
that's true.
What has happened, and one of the things that this particular show is here for is to crush some of the ideology that comes out of the evangelical community that we don't even agree with. That yes, I believe that there are Christians who are misguided, who believe certain things that we don't necessarily believe, that are some people would say evolving, but we're saying the sanctification process. There's a process that we grow as believers. I used to be anti-trans, anti-gay, anti-everything, bro, and I used to ride for it. I don't care what you said. I wasn't doing no God hates fag signs or stupid stuff like that, but I was super. And then I just grew, and I understood that, man, I need to have conversations with people that believe stuff that's different than me, because there's value. Like, I don't know what brought a person to this point. So I think the reason why I want to stay away from really taking positions in a forum like this is because the other side doesn't have an opportunity to say, hey, wait, that's a myth. That's wrong. And so I'm saying, let's have a conversation with somebody and let's just talk. Like, though you can't speak for the whole community, what would you say in general?
But it goes back to the same thing, though. And I understand what you're saying, but it goes back to the same thing when we talk about the myths and all that kind of stuff, because just like I just mentioned, the other side most definitely ain't dispelling stuff that they say about us.
Of course.
You know, whatever that woman said, nobody chimed in and said, hey, Bishop Bowers not like that. I know him, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? They don't defend you. You have to defend yourself. You know what I mean? I respect you and where you want to stand on it, so we can go that way. But it's personal, on personal level, me, I don't care about the myths or whatever they want to dispel and things like that. You know, I have an opinion, and not only do I have an opinion, but I also have a position that is biblical, right? Of where I stand, and I also have a position based on biblical principles of where I stand in the community and helping people, right? So, and those are two different things. Just like last week when we were on this panel, faith-based, talking about church separate state, I said, I clearly believe in church being separate from state, because I don't want the state to tell me how to worship. I don't want the state to tell me, or if we go to school, who's going to lead the prayer, right? You know, because I don't care if you're a Christian, can't know any Christian lead me in prayer. You know, so we have so many different branches of Christianity that we don't agree on a lot of different things, and so on. So what branch of Christianity is going to be the straight religion or whatever, you know? So I want it separated, because I don't want you coming in telling me how to worship and things like that. And so, and I believe in it. So that's why I keep it separate from what I do in the community and the church that I pastor. Keep the politics, keep all that stuff. This is a sacred and a holy place, and it's going to stay like that. It's going to stay like no politics. Nobody comes in to speak or do anything at charity. It's about preaching the word of God. It's about worshiping. And I might say something you might think, and sometimes I get a little scared, right? Because when I preach, you know, I preach what I believe, and I'm not going to shut up or sugarcoat it. And sometimes I get a little nervous because it's like, okay, somebody hear this, they might send it to one of these groups, and they define me as a hate group, you know, because of the way because of the positions that you've taken in your preaching and so on. And that's a shame, because, you know, there's supposed to be America, freedom of religion. You're supposed to be able to believe and practice what you want and things like that. And everybody's supposed to come to the table. But this is one of the things to share, that the faith-based thing, and I really believe this, and I really like what Tyler Perry said, and I just took that and applied it to what we're doing. Is that, he said, instead of trying to find a seat at somebody else's table, build your own table, right? And that's what Jesus did, right? He built his own table. He wasn't accepted at the politicians' table in Rome, or the Jews and the religion. He wasn't accepted none of those tables, but he built his own table. And he said, the kingdom of God is among you, and it's spiritual, right? And that table is still here today and still building, right? And so when it comes to me, and when it comes to the spiritual work and what God is doing and so on, I have, yes, I'm at a table, and it's a table of the Lord, and it's spiritual, and there's a spiritual work that needs to be done. And the Bible requires us to love our neighbor. That's anybody, whether they trans or whoever, as we love ourselves. So how can I hate you or mistreat you, do anything to you when I have that kind of love for you, right? Yeah. But I do believe certain things that not right and it deals with not just that, but any other type of what I call sins. So, I deal with, because now you can't even call that a sin. Well, so so here's for what some of us believe.
Of course. And I think the only thing I would say, I guess, and not even to refute what you're saying, because I agree with what you're saying. I feel the same way biblically about the things that you do. The thing I always want to remember, and I just want us always to remember, is that we are the ones that have a biblical mandate to be godly, and that's to not be judgmental, and to not be in the sense of, we can be judgmental, right? We can.
I've been that way.
But what I say, but being judgmental for us, like, people act like no one ever judges. But the truth is, if someone knocks on your door, you make a judgment before you allow that person to come in your house. So to say that we never judge is ludicrous. Exactly. Like, we all make judgments every day. Yeah. But I think we have to remember that as Christians, we're the ones that have a duty to be loving. That's no one else does. That's right. No one, if someone outside of those who are guided by biblical principles says, I don't want none of you MFing Christians anywhere around me, that is completely within your right, and it's expected. It's not expected for us to do that. So all I'm saying is that I just wish that we would open up the doors and begin having dialogue. Do I expect that every member of that community is going to just be open arms to the things that we talk about? Not at all. But guess what? That is totally within your rights to do that. And it's okay. Like, I understand. All I'm saying is, we are the ones, as a Christian, as Christians, we are the ones that have a fiduciary responsibility to love biblically. And and with that love comes and when it says to, and here's the other part, that it calls us to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, right? And if I'm loving you as I love myself, I set up rules and guidelines to the things that I do and don't do. So if I have guidelines for of how I love you, like, I can't just let you do whatever you want to do in my life. Just like I don't allow myself to do whatever I want to do in your life, right? And so, but I think there's a lot.
I love you too much.
but again, that's a thing where when we start eating, and I don't even want to go down that road, but I'll just suffice it to say that we have the responsibility to be loving and to be the ones that are always willing to come to the table. Right. Nobody else has that responsibility. Nobody.
So let's talk about this, the young lady that got killed.
Oh my gosh, Atatiana Jefferson.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. I mean, before we change topics, Chaz said a couple of things here. He said, I don't have an issue with people feeling a certain way about themselves in regards to their appearance, position, or existence. That's known as an internal struggle. We all have them. Agreed. Some small, some large. Yep, I agree. They come and go, sometimes remaining unresolved in something we battle our entire lifetime.
That's what I was just talking to my wife about.
And I agree with that, brother. That's a true statement. I think you agree with that? Yeah. I agree with that.
Well, I was just talking to my wife about that. Yeah.
He says, my issues with the social shift concerning sexuality is twofold. This comes from Chaz. One, society at large should not be burdened or tasked with solving the internal struggles of individuals. If a man feels like he wants to act as or exist as in his mind or outwardly a woman, or vice versa, that's perfectly fine. Expecting society to then recognize that is utterly preposterous. Okay. No. So let's finish the whole
Yeah,
comment.
you do what you got to do, but hey, don't force that on me.
And that's with anything.
Yeah.
That's with anything about whatever, right? And I agree. I agree. I don't think that we don't have a responsibility to just accept anything regardless. Everybody has an opportunity.
And don't call me transphobic either, because I whatever position I take, it's not found alignment, agreement with you on what you think I should be behaving or doing or acting.
In the true sense of the word transphobic. And I think here's the key. Here's the thing that I think is important. And this is why I don't like people to just throw out racism, throw out the word racism, just at every single, because we got to understand what racism actually is. Racism is so much bigger than just somebody calling somebody white, calling somebody black the N-word, or somebody brown, something other, right? Racism is bigger than that. Now, are those effects of racism?
Might have some offensive words and so on.
But if you're going to, racism is so much bigger than racism is systemic at this point, right? Racism is systemic,
structural, institutional.
Absolutely. And I think we need to be careful.
And individuals can practice it too.
There's no doubt. If you're taking, I'm not saying that we can't ever call someone a racist, but I think there are times where we're just so
we use it too loosely.
That's what I'm saying.
And one example is with my kids when they were growing up in school, and they said, my teacher's a racist. I say, hey, wait. No, we can't go there like that. Where are your facts?
Yes.
To show that this teacher is a racist, just because you don't like the way they're treating you or something said, that don't make them a racist. You know, and you black and they white. You know, you present the facts to me. Be able to articulate your point of why you calling this individual racist.
Well, and I say the same. I say the same thing when people say that if you're being called transphobic because you believe a certain thing, you can't just throw these terms around like loosely, like you're trans, and you're. It's like, wait, there may just be a lack of understanding. I don't even like. You may display behaviors of someone who's transphobic, but if you don't even know what the word trans is, it's like, to me, that's an opportunity to educate. And I think that people need to know that we are willing to come to the table to receive that education to know, right? So if someone says, hey, I want to come on y'all show, I'm trans, I want to come to y'all show and talk about and I'm saying, come to the table. You know what I'm saying? And then we'll send a list of questions, you send a list, and we'll discuss what we need to discuss. This is not about hot button issues trying to be, but if a person wants to come to the table and talk about these issues, the table is open. It's okay. We need to know the people, like, part of being neighborly is knowing what your neighbor's into. If your neighbor,
like you said, we have that obligation, even if they don't, we have that obligation because of love.
And guess what? What happens when they come over to the bishop and I? You getting food, you gonna get served like everybody else. We gonna take your plate, we gonna wash it. We gonna give you coffee, because that is what we believe. Now we make, and even in the heat of our disagreement, you still, if you need a ride home, taking you to the house. If you see what I'm saying? Because that's what we believe. Those are biblical principles. We believe in hospitality, and we just have to make sure that we maintain that particular position, no matter what someone else does, because we are the ones that have the biblical mandate to be godly, not them. You see what I'm saying? And so,
and we got to keep reminding each other of that, because we get caught up. You know, I know I can sometimes get caught up and lose focus.
But here's the thing. I remember one time, one of the guys that I used to love listening to on the radio a lot, he still is the Bible answer man, Hank Hinnegraaff. One time somebody called him.
I don't really care for him too much, but
and I have grown in sort of my positions on certain stuff, but this was early on when I didn't understand.
I read some of his books and all that.
So this was, we're talking years ago, but one time somebody called and he went off on him. And I was like, holy moly. But I thought to myself, if you're engaged in battle a whole lot, there's probably a chance that you're going to go off on one of your teammates at one point. You're probably going to go off on somebody that you love one day. You're probably going to get frustrated.
And we got to have room for that.
That's what I'm saying. And that's all I'm saying about when we make mistakes. I don't expect someone in the world to show you grace. I expect them to hammer you,
but I got to
call you an idiot. I expect that, but I don't expect me to do that to you, and I don't expect you to do that to me. You see what I'm saying? So everybody has internal struggles, I've stated. So who chooses the ones we solve? It's not practical, fair, feasible, or even sustainable. I think those internal struggles are struggles that I have to solve in myself. I mean, I don't go around going, you need to solve this. You need to solve, like, even in my kids' lives, like, I try to open up opportunities. I'm very clear with my kids where I stand in particular areas, but I never, like I tell my kids, like, you not married to a police officer. I'm not going to be doing a whole bunch of investigations. Your heart is going to determine the kind of person you are.
Yeah.
And I believe if I try to suppress my kids and take away, all you're going to do is find some sneakier way to do it. And you're going to be in more trouble. So I'll just let you do whatever you got to do and we'll see how it turns out. But there's going to be consequences if you go against the things that we say, the rules that I said. But I'll let you live your life. If you want to live your best life now, get it in. Just don't get caught. Because if you do, I'm coming at you, player. So I don't know that. Yeah, I don't think it's our job. I don't think it's my job or anybody's job to solve whatever you got going on inside of you. But here's what I do know. If somebody I know and love, regardless of what their lifestyle is, if they come to me with an issue, then I would be the type of person that would try to be a voice of reason, considering where they are at in their life. I'll ask questions and see, is there something that we can do? I'm not the type of person that believes solely and I'll just pray for you. That is very key. We need to pray because there's a lot of things we don't know. But part of what I do is ask questions and say, I'm here. What do you need? I got you. What do you want to do? So do you have anything you want to add on that? What issues that we pick or what issues do we deal with? You want to move on to the next point?
We can move on to the young lady.
Okay. So we'll Darcel got one. Let me read one from Darcel. Me personally, I don't care what one do with their life. Just don't push your views and ways on me, and we cool.
And that's what I try to do.
If being gay is a violation in the Christian world, who do they have to answer to? I would think God, even if they are not gay, we still choose who we be around and deal with. So if being around gay is not your thing, then don't. Hey, at the end of the day, if you so bothered by a person's ways, then what do you do with anybody?
I think we're suspicious of each other when we talk about, like, for myself being a pastor and so on, and the way maybe the LGBTQ community may think of you. And I think there's a suspicion on both sides from the perspective of, like, this person probably don't want to have to do with me because I'm a pastor, and this person probably said he probably don't want to have to do with me because and I'm saying this about him, and he's saying, or whoever they saying it about me, and that suspicion there, like you said. But I think it's important what you said. We got to start having those conversations with respect and love towards each other.
Yeah. Good stuff. No, I like it. So moving on into the sister, Atatiana Jefferson.
How you say her name?
Atatiana.
I was saying Tatiana. Yeah.
There's an A in front of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Tatiana.
And they call her Tay.
Tay probably. In this time that we live in right now, when I see things like this, the first thing I think part of me is a little numb to it. Because there's not that visceral reaction that I used to have before where I just get super upset and angry. I just shake my head and I say, I just find it really interesting that, and again, my expectation is for the church to have a say in this, right? I expect that the same people, what's up, Manny? What's up, Mark? If y'all still here, I don't know. I can't tell who comes and goes, but I keep seeing people join. What's up, fellas? The fact that this woman was in her home, allegedly playing video games with her nephew, or her nephew was there playing video games. The front door was open. Somebody was doing a welfare check. Her screen door, come on, man. Her screen door was open. Her screen door was closed, but I guess her I don't know all the facts. I'm just gathering from folks on certain news things or whatever. The police officer doesn't say, "Hey, it's the Fort Worth,
checking it in the back and
Dallas Fort Worth police." It wasn't. There was none of that. It was he's shining his flashlight in there. He sees a lady. She goes, they said she was she was scared because her and her nephew, they was playing video games. They heard somebody creeping around their house. He never said, "Hey, it's the police." He puts the light in there, and you know what they do. Shine it in your face so you don't know where they are or whatever. They never just light the room up. They put that bright light with 4,000 lumens right in your face or whatever, and you get disoriented. And then he shot and killed her or whatever in her own home after a welfare check. And I'm saying to myself, how on earth do you walk by somebody's window, shine your light inside their window, and kill them? It was a welfare check call. It wasn't a robbery, a homicide. Why you got your gun drawn, bro, at a welfare check? Why you creeping around somebody's house and not saying if it's the police? How would you and if that's not y'all's protocol, If it is dark,
knock on the door.
Come on, man. Like, it doesn't make sense. Why you by yourself? If you feel like you're in a position where you got to shoot, why you by yourself? Like, what do you do? And
this person wasn't. I thought he by himself.
He's the one that fired the shots.
Yeah,
Didn't nobody else pull their gun out? How come nobody else pulled their gun out?
Yeah.
So my thing is this, man. It's like, dude. And here's the problem. This is why I love what Tasha always says.
Mm-hmm.
Tasha Williamson always says, accountability is not the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens, I believe, is when you are in a position in your life where you feel that whatever privilege you have is going to exonerate you from any kind of culpability in a crime, that's going to cause you to act different. That's going to can you imagine, like, and I know that it happens that way. Like, if you watch the way people that drive company cars and stuff like that, depending on what agency they work for and stuff, they drive different. They act, people who know that certain aspects of the law don't apply to them go act different. They just are. They just are. And if you work somewhere where you don't have to think about the decisions that you make, that's why AB 392 is so important, because people act like it's putting police lives in danger, and it's not. You should think 2 or 3 times before you kill somebody. That does not mean that you're putting your life in danger. And here's what we look at, and then I'll pass it over to you. When you look at the young brother, when you look at the little baby brother that got shot, 12 years old, what's the little baby brother's name that got killed? Tamir Rice. When you look at little baby Tamir Rice, those police officers pulled up into the park, parked about 2 feet from this young brother, and jumped out their car and started shooting. How in the heck do you pull up next to somebody like that when they got a gun? Why don't you keep driving and get yourself in a position where you could kind of see what's going on first or whatever? And the reason why they do that is because you don't have to. If police officers knew that they would be held accountable for killing somebody and it was unjust, they would do their job differently. And this sister would have never got killed the way she got killed, because the people think about the consequences before they make the decision. And even the scripture says, when consequences don't come swiftly, people continue in their wickedness. When you know that ain't nothing going to happen to you, you're going to continue doing what you're going to do. So that's my thing. I think it was senseless. I think it's sad. I think it's an epidemic. I think it's something that we are just used to now. We expect it. And I think what ultimately is going to happen is people are going to begin to feel hopeless. And I think that hopelessness is going to turn into something a lot worse than what revolution, uprising. And unfortunately, that's the only thing that if you back a badger into a corner, you already know what's going to happen to you. You see what I'm saying? What do you think?
Absolutely. I think, that when one of the discussions that I've been listening to in regards to this is that, because people are saying, oh, well, we can't call the police now for welfare checks. But my thing is that's been, you know what I mean? And like you said, this is something that's been going on and on and on. These are the fears we've been having on and on and on. And what I want to say, because I want to talk about that welfare check and the gentleman calling, no bad on him per se, but this is what I've been trying to tell San Diego in regard to PERT and all this other kind of stuff. They should have called PERT. Don't you know when they call PERT, they still gonna bring the police out there? Yeah, they're gonna still come out there, and they still got to secure the scene. And so
depending on the condition of the person,
back in our days, man, we handle things ourselves in our community. If somebody's acting up, whatever, call their brother or mom or whoever, come get them. Even when harm was done, like I as a little kid, I think about 4 or 5 years old. I can't remember how old I was. We was at Golden Hill Park or barbecue. My mom and dad got into it, and my mom stabbed my dad. And no police ever got involved. He went to the hospital, got his stitches or whatever, and and they called police. And then when I was a teenager, they were separated. They were separated for a moment. And my mom, I was coming home. I don't know where I was a teenager. I was coming home, and I heard a shot in my house. And I was like, oh man, what happened? And then my mom came out with a gun in her hand. And then my dad came up behind her, snatched. No, she missed. She missed. He'd been in the military and all that kind of stuff. So he sneaked up behind her and unarmed her.
I'm not laughing. My mouth is on the ground.
He took the gun from her. He took the gun from her, and she fell on the ground. I'm standing like, oh, well, thank God. He turned around, walked away.
The perfect gentleman.
He just turned away, took the gun, turned around, walked away.
She shot at him. He took the gun and said, "I can't take it."
And so I went on. I do it. So I just went over there, picked my mom up, and was comforting her and stuff like that. I'm glad that that's far as it went, you know. And so, but no police was ever called. No police didn't come out to the house or anything like that. And I've seen numerous situations where, and so I guess the point I'm trying to make is that we can handle things ourselves.
Sure.
We're not incompetent. We're well able to handle a lot of this stuff ourselves. And of course, this got to be a learning moment because we always felt unsafe. So I remember my son when he's dealing with his brother and stuff, and his mom Carla didn't want to call the help because she didn't want the police to come in and they end up killing him and so on. So those are the type of things we deal with every day, way before this, every day, all the time, right? So we most definitely have to start looking at that and understanding that PERD or any kind of other team, a non-emergency team that you want to call, when you make calls and the way the system is set up, they're going to call that police and they're going to come out, right? And so you got to think about that. The other thing is that I think, well, you know, with this, with the challenges we're going to have with this one, I believe, I don't know what the argument is yet, but the challenges we're going to have with this one, this way AB 392 fits in, is they're going to say he was on duty, right? And he was called to a scene, didn't know what he was going into. And what? He feared for his life. And so this is a good example of how AB 392 would work. And of course, they're trying to say they found a gun in the house, but yeah, you know how they try to do that, right? They try to make it sound like she had a gun in her hand and probably didn't. She probably just looking out the window, seeing what was going on and got shot. And even if she did have a gun, she was in her own house.
Somebody is creeping around.
Exactly.
I'm going to get my piece stolen
Exactly.
and I'm going to find out what's happening right here. And there's a good chance that if somebody is peeking through my windows, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And if you got a badge on or whatever,
Yeah.
you don't identify who you are and it's dark and you got your light in my eye, it's a good chance you might get dumped.
And here's the other thing that I have, because I just want to bring it to San Diego because, you know, I've been accused, you know, had folks say that, at least with law enforcement, oh, you called us murderers and racists and Nazis, so we don't want to have nothing to do with you and things like that. And it's situations like this, right? This police officer is a murderer. I don't know if he's a racist or Nazi, but for sure, he's a murderer. You killed someone, whether it was unintentional, intentional, you killed someone. And that's murder. You took a life. And whenever a police officer, no matter he's a crooked police officer and deserved what he got or didn't, when a police officer gets shot or especially killed, they're wearing the bands around their badges. They're talking about prayers out for dust and dust. When one of us get killed by them, you can't hear a moan or groan from them. And I have a big problem with that, you know, from Chief Nisley to all the other chiefs in the city and all these other police officers and so on like that. You don't hear nothing from them. That's why we have a big problem in our communities. That's why we call you murderers, racists, and Nazis. That's why we say you don't care about us and you don't care about our community. And that's why you have a mistrust problem and people don't want to call you. Hey, that guy called, but a lot of people don't do that anymore. They don't call the police. They deal with it themselves and deal with issues themselves. And then they have the nerve to say, oh, well, you know, we got to put the shot spotters up because the community is scared and they're scared to call us and they blame it on the community, but it's really scared to call you because you're going to come in and kill somebody.
That's funny. Darcel just said, and I think he sums up what you just said right here. And the last comment you made, he said, that's because there's some crazy, scary, young, gun-toting, coward police officers who spend too much time on social media thinking any call within the Black community can result in a violent situation. Door open, yell. They at the front door, identify yourself, do the freaking welfare check. He said it's awful. I agree, brother. I agree.
Here's one of the things that I was thinking about, man, and I, you know, back in my day it was horrible too. But I think what was just what Darcy just said right there, that's part of the problem, right? These officers, they are made a different way. They are most definitely scared. They are cowards and everything else. When I was coming up, police would fight you. They have their gun on you. You fighting, wrestling, couple your homeboy. You throwing down with them. They would never. They pull out their billy clubs or whatever, nightsticks or so on, and you throw down with them. You know. And I remember one time.
I don't know. I
remember one time. No, we knew we could. And they'll put out their gun, bro. And I remember one time we were me and my homies going to do a drive-by, and the police got behind us. We got into a high-speed chase. I didn't hear my homeboy saying he's going to stop. I'm going to stop, you know, at the next corner. So he stopped, and everybody jumped out of the car. I'm like, what in the world happening? So I got this shotgun in the back. So I ducked down, you know, with the shotgun right next to me back seat. Police come, boom, put the gun down on me. He could have shot and killed me, but he didn't. But I guarantee you, if that was today, brother, I'd be dead. because these officers are made different. They're scary. And I understand some of the reasons why they would have some fear, but be a police officer, you shouldn't be out there if you're that scared, where you got to pull the trigger before you see what's going on and what's happening. You're supposed to be trained better than that, right?
I think, yes, I agree. What I think a big part of it is, and I will always revert back to this, I think a big part of the problem is lack of accountability. Brother, if I know that I can, here's the thing, mm-hmm. anything I can get away with, mm-hmm. there's a good chance I'm gonna get away with it, right? Yeah. So for me, like people say, oh, you're using Christianity as a crutch. It's like, listen, there are some things that my family would be a lot different right now if I didn't have what I believe is the restraint of God's Spirit.
Thank you, Lord.
And just different principles. I'll be living my life a different way.
Me too.
Right? I still got it, Bishop. I do. But here's the thing, but I don't use it, right? There's a lot of things, because I believe that, and anything, mm-hmm. even a person's personal discipline, there's a reason why people discipline themselves a particular way. Mm-hmm. And whatever thing you use to discipline yourself, everybody needs a form of discipline. Mm-hmm. And they say power corrupts. Mm-hmm. But absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? Yeah. And so anything that we have the ability to do, these folks have the ability to take a person's life and they can do it with no kind of consequence. Mm-hmm. They do it with impunity. Mm-hmm. There's no process. One of the things that Genevieve Jones-Wright, my DA, says, and she said during her campaign last year, was that I think at that time there was 150 police officer involved shootings. 55, something like that. 155 shootings, right? Mm-hmm. And wasn't none of them unjust. Mm-hmm. Right. They all would, and she was like, you can't. Those kind of odds only work in Vegas, she said.
And think about this, that just taking a step further, the report that the DA just came out with 25 years of officer involved shootings, right? And when they brought out the report, they tried to say, oh, well, more white guys got shot by the police than anybody else. But then when you do it based on the proportion of population, there's a disproportionate number of black person was 7 times more likely to be killed by a police officer than a white person. And so, they hide this.
You got 10 times the white people. Of course, it's gonna be more white people got shot.
Exactly. So they're shooting us, killing us, arresting us, lying on us, abusing us, and everything. I've been through it all, so I know I'm not just saying this to be saying this. I know these cops are crooked. And some of even the gang wars that we're probably having these gang wars because they are the instigators, right? I've had people to tell me, I have talked to youngsters that tell me what these gang units say to them and things like that, to try to provoke them and get them to go do something. And so we got a serious problem with law enforcement. And I think the community is for sure we're going to have to start being able to handle a lot of these things on our own. And I think on the other side of the coin, we rely on them too much anyway. They're not our social workers and all these other different kind of things. To do a welfare check, you and I could have done that and walked across. If I see my neighbor, if I know them, I'm gonna walk across the street and see what's going on. Mind my own business. You know what I mean? If there's nothing suspicious going on over there.
Here's what I agree that there's things that we could do on our own as a society and as community members. My problem is that if that's something you're supposed to do, then instead of us absolutely, then because again, that doesn't solve the problem is that you're not policing correctly. The problem is not the fact that we're using you too much. That is just a solution. Mm-hmm. That's like saying, the problem is you not policing correctly. Yeah. And if my tax dollars are going to pay,
I'm paying you
to do your job correctly. So
you're gonna kill me with my own tax dollars.
Do your job. So my thing is, yes, we can just start saying, let's never call the police, let's whatever. That's fine. But the problem is it doesn't solve the problem. Mm-hmm. It doesn't solve the problem is not we need more comfortable beds in prison. The problem is that's not that. So, hey, let's just get more comfortable beds in prison. No, let's stop locking people up for stupid stuff. We don't need to make it more comfortable. It makes it more comfortable when we don't use the police more, when they have. And there's multiple layers to this whole thing. I mean, let's not forget. I want to be very clear about some of the other ancillary issues that need to be dealt with. It's not, number one, it's not all police. Let's just get, it's not. There are some police officers, but here's the problem is that more and more police that see these things happening are going to begin to act out in the same way. And here's why. I don't think it's because they intended to do that. I think that what happens is when people start seeing that you have a department that doesn't have a rule of accountability, it creates an actual depression that people begin to see their coworkers shooting people and doing things that don't make sense, and they don't know what to do with the depression and the sadness that they feel, and they see it. They can't say nothing about it, and then it ends up creating more anger. And who do you hurt? When you do that, you can't say anything to your coworkers because you're going to be ostracized. Yeah. So everybody says, oh man, you need to just stand up and say something. That's very true. But when y'all see somebody in the streets that do something that's foul and you know that it's against the rules, ain't nobody on social media telling on that person. So we know what it feels like to not tell on people who have the ability to levy consequences on us. We know what that feels like. We need to stop acting like we don't. There is a sense of responsibility that a person has when you see something, say something. But when you have a system that is so backwards, I believe that feeds a lot of the depression in these police officers. And that's why this is one of the reasons why they have one of the highest rates of suicide of all public safety. Police officers routinely shoot themselves in the mouth. And I think that is ridiculous. And that is a responsibility. Part of that responsibility goes to leadership. If you got people running roughshod all over these communities and people can see it and nobody's saying nothing about it, that breeds depression and it breeds a sense of hopelessness in people. People actually want to be in a system that's disciplined and has orders and rules. And so, no, we shouldn't have to stop calling the police. We should actually start firing some of the police and having consequences when they do things wrong and get them the help that they need. Chaz got a couple of things he said here. He says, globally and domestically, the thought, sight, and knowledge of blacks dying just isn't bothersome to people. People see it and just go, whatever. We talked about this weekend. He says it extends beyond police culture. If it creates visceral reactions within society at large, it'll be rectified. Like Chappelle said, if a disproportionate amount of trannies were shot and killed by police, they dismantled the whole department. So, and that's very true. Like if you look at certain communities right now, the hot topic is the LGBTQ community. They're very vocal about the things that they believe. And you best believe if they was in there acting up, there was something would be done about it. Some people are saying that the police have been doing, and it's not to say that I believe the police act up with anybody. And here's my thing. Let's not ever make any mistakes and act like the only people police mess with black people. I bet you they treat transsexuals and transvestites, or transsexuals, I think is the term. Transvestites is not the word that they use anymore, but if the trans community is can you imagine the way some of these police talk to folks when they don't agree with the lifestyle that they're in? They probably talk crazy the same way they do anybody else. And so, but what Chaz was saying, though, I agree with, is that we have been so used to seeing black people killed that it only angers us for a second. Yeah. We'll get mad that this sister Atatiana Jefferson got murdered. She got killed by the police, but then tomorrow Donald Trump will tweet something racist and we'll be thinking about it.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was thinking when this happened. So he hit it right on the head, the hammer right on the head of the nail, because that's what I was thinking when I was seeing all these tweets about these people when it's, this is you can't call the police for welfare, blah, 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 blah. You're getting shot in your own house. And I'm like, are you guys just now realizing this? And I know some people do it because they get paid and they got to tweet and they got to raise money and all this other kind of stuff. And you know what I mean? And try to make things go viral and all that and just want to, be somebody, have a platform. I understand that. But, when you see all of this, I feel the same way. It's like we're dealing with this all the time. This is not the first. I hope it's the last, but this is not first. This is nothing new. This is nothing new. This has been happening all the time. And so it goes back to what you're saying is that callousness, that people have grown insensitive to it. They're not sensitive enough. They have no feeling toward it. I don't know if they're numb or just been saturated with it. But I think one of the important things that has to happen is, and this is what I'm always trying to do, is we have to reframe the narrative, right? We have to reframe the narrative, get ahead of it and frame it the way we want it, right? And so like one of the things that you're talking about is accountability. Of course, we always say that, but we have to really spell out what accountability look like, because the first thought that came to my mind when we started saying that, I said, well, they just convicted an officer right there. The officer just saw that and been a little bit worried and nervous. So there's something not only within society, but within the culture and which one other subject I want to talk about, and guns, right? You know, and you know, one of the things that I was always told, or I learned, I should say, is that when people are saying things about something, try to get to the source, to the root of it, and find out who framed that narrative. You know, who framed that narrative?
What do you mean by that? I think I hear what you're saying. What do you mean?
Like when you talk about gun reform, and you hear people say, "Oh, gun is reform just to oppress Black people," and I'm like, okay, where did you get that from? Who started that? You know, why are you saying that now? And so my thing is that, and that's why I want to talk about gun reform, because we have people that first thing they want to harp on is the Second Amendment. Nobody's trying to take your Second Amendment away from you. But when you're out there in the streets, and I lived this life, brother. I done had all kind of guns. I've broken houses and stole guns. I bought guns off the street, traded guns, took guns from people. Oh, I've had guns all the time. You know what I mean? And I know, and every single gun, and there's never a time in my life, well, there was sometimes when I was on probation, things like that, but there's never a time in my life where I couldn't just go buy a gun. And we've had people to buy guns for us and file the serial number off and things like that. So, but every gun that we've had in our community, when I was banging and stuff, was an illegal gun. And so when you talk about gun reform, that's what we're trying to deal with. Our children and our people being killed in the street by illegal guns, right? And 60 to 70% of these stolen guns are coming from residential burglaries, stealing from legal people or taken from a family member or friend, or they're being trafficked from other states that have lax gun laws, right? So there's a couple things. We need a tracking system to be able to track this, find out what the trends are, where these guns come from, so we can get ahead of it. And we also need to have stiffer rules for when people are storing their guns in the house. Now, I supported city attorney's position on the guns, but I made it clear that I didn't think it went far enough. I said, y'all wouldn't like it if I really told you what you really need to do to make sure that nobody can get in your, break in your house and steal your gun, or break in your car and steal your gun. Because the guns that are used on our street are handguns. Most of them are handguns and pistols and so on. And our young men and young women are being killed and slaughtered in the street by illegal guns. And so nobody's trying to take your Second Amendment. That's a narrative that the NRA and all these other gun guys want to frame for you, the frame, right? But what the real issue is that we got to get these guns off the street. Now, I know, there's others deal with mass shootings and all that, but most of the shootings is community violence, what we see all the time, and we have to deal with that. And so my thing is that, because I'm out there and I'm dealing with that, and, and Tasha, she's out there, she's dealing, we know the damage and all that, but I've seen it myself, the harm of what guns could do. I've seen people get killed right in front of me. You know what I mean? Getting shot down right in front of it. I've been in many helpless situations where I'm being shot at and in the midst of shootouts and stuff like that, and nothing I can do. Only by the grace of God, I'm not dead or shot or what have you. And so I know the damage of what guns could do. So when people talk that stuff, you know what I mean? I live that life, and I know that there are some things that we can do to get these guns off the streets, to where that our folks is not out there using legal guns and shooting and killing people. Because there ain't nobody gonna take their gun,
right. Well,
and use it in a robbery or shoot somebody, things like that.
But again, I think we have to circle back. And I believe in guns. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a gun owner. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I'll leave it at that.
But like I said, nobody's talking about your Second Amendment.
No. But here's what I believe. And this goes back to what we originally talked about, sitting down at the table, right? Mm-hmm. And actually having honest dialogue. Here's the problem. Respectful
dialogue, because people want to be disrespectful.
I have an issue with that. Let's take the disrespect out. Let's just take let's take that. Let's just say that. Let's talk about just honest.
Thank you.
Let's come to I don't care if you call me a stupid MF while we talking, as long as you're being honest, right? I'm just saying, we don't need to have, the dialogue don't even have to be respectful. It just needs to be honest. Like,
I think it has to be respectful for me, because you ain't gonna disrespect. That's one thing I live. That's a model I live by. You ain't gonna disrespect
what I'm
me.
saying is somebody could sit in your face and how many people have talked respectfully to you and was lying? You see what I'm saying? I'm just saying. I don't care.
All right.
I don't care if you're respectful to me when we talk about certain stuff.
Speaking truth.
Just speak the truth. So all I'm saying is the problem with all of these things, whenever someone's making a decision about another person or people, what I want to know is, are you telling the truth?
Right.
Are you going to, like when you talk
Right.
about gun control, reason why we start talking about some of these concepts and people in the Black community get up in arms about what you're talking about is because you've consistently and constantly lied to the Black community. And so we never trust the things that you're going to say. And that is dangerous for the community. It's dangerous for the community not to have the types of relationships with people in these positions to know. I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day about political stuff, and it's like, we need to begin to say hard things and have hard conversations about crooked politics. We have to be careful about appointing people too quick, too soon. We can't do that. Biblically, it even makes sense. We can't lay hands subtly. Even in the church, we're the worst offenders when it comes to that. And remember, all of the rules and regulations, like the church is held to a higher standard. We can't complain about people in government being appointed to things that they don't deserve when we appoint pastors and bishops and deacons that don't deserve to be there. You got people cheating with their wife and cheating on their husbands, but you letting them lead all. You got people that are in lifestyles that you don't agree with, that you got doing certain things in your church. And so I think, and that's the whole idea of don't judge until you pull the mote. You got to get the mote out of your own eye before you can see clear enough. And until we can come to the table and have honest dialogue about what it means. When we hear gun control, the Black community and a lot of people who have been oppressed in any way, but particularly the Black community, what I hear people saying is, all you want to do is take my weapons, and then what's going to happen is we're going to go back to slavery like we did before, and you going.
But okay,
even though that's not true.
Let me challenge that though. Okay, yeah, I'm glad you're speaking for you saying what they say. Yeah,
I'm saying it's
here's what I would say to them.
Lack of trust.
Here's what I say to them is that, where did you get that thinking from? Right? That all you're gonna do is take my guns away. Oh, they're going to take your gun, and they tried, and all they do under Obama, they were saying that, and man, they sold more guns on Obama than anywhere else, because that's what it's all about, right? Gun manufacturers selling the guns, getting the guns, and the NRA, the gun owner, the gun shops, the gun makers, and all these other different people made millions and billions of dollars off of folks because you think they're going to take your guns, and they know you got a Second Amendment that they cannot, unless they change Second Amendment. That's what you better worry about. But these little laws that regulate, just like you regulate driving a car or anything else, it needs to be regulated. And so when people say that, I think that they're really just bought into a lie that someone is telling them that somebody's there to take nobody's there to take your guns. In San Diego right now, I can go get a gun, purchase it. I can go apply with the sheriff's office and carry a concealed weapon if I want. Nothing stops me from doing that. You could, right? I could. Cause my felonies reduced with misdemeanor. I had 2 felonies, but they're reduced with misdemeanor. But what I'm saying is that I can do that. I got friends that I got pastor friends that got guns and things like that. But let me tell you, when I got saved, bro, when I got saved, I knew I know the reality of what happens with guns. So I got rid of mine. So as soon as I got saved, I knew this is one thing I do not need. And right now, I don't have no guns. I don't want to go get no gun, and I don't need no gun. The Lord will protect me. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go. And that's where
if I'm around you, I'm going to intercede like the Holy Spirit. I ain't gonna let him take you out like that, brother. No, here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. I think you say, where do they get that information? And unfortunately, when you're in an untrusting relationship, sometimes the information you get can come from your own mind. And because you just don't trust the person. And because you're trying to determine, that's what I'm talking about. It's important that we have a level of honesty when we're dealing with these conversations. Because when people don't trust, there's just nothing you can do. I used to tell my kids when they were little, all we got is our relationship. You can't lie to me, because if you lie, like, we don't have nothing, like, what else do we have to go by? If I can't trust you, like, what else do we have? Like, I don't have nothing else to go with, like, you know what I mean? And so I just think honesty is the best thing. We need more of that. Gun control is something that we need to have honest dialogue about. And I think, again, and I will always say this, it impacts us the most. We're dying the most by these guns. 50% of homicides in America are Black people. 85% of those homicides are guns. You know what I mean? And so
This is something that we got to address and we got to deal with. I mean, and it's not just guns per se. You got to address a lot of the underlying issues too. We know that we got to address trauma, poverty, all these being underserved, gentrification that moves people together, to address the gang issues, the drug issues, different things like that. We know we got to address all those different things along with that. But I think that when you slice that pie up, gun control is a part of that.
And it's funny, like you say gun control. And again, that goes back to the whole idea of trans or pastor. You say trans, what images come to your brain? What kind of assumptions, what kind of assumptions do you make of a person when you understand that they're from that community, the LGBTQ community? What do you automatically think? Where does your brain go? When somebody hears that you're a pastor, or that I'm a pastor Christian, or that we're Christians, or you're religious, or you're a Muslim, what are the things that come to your mind? What is your automatic default? And then when someone says gun control, what is your automatic default? And then we have to go back and say, where are my biases coming from? Why do I believe a certain way about something?
Right.
And we need to produce the paperwork.
Right.
We need to be willing to say this is wrong. And all I'm saying is I believe that the church, and we always go back to that. Whatever the world is doing, that's what they're doing. But if we're out of we say that we've been called out of the world, we're no longer in the world, then what do we say about it? What is our thing? What is our position? And I believe when someone says gun control, one of the things that you ought to think about is the 46% of guns that are used in robberies and homicides that came from somebody else's house. And if that person would have had some kind of control over their firearm, so that you wouldn't have been able to, the person wouldn't have been able to break into the house and get the weapon. If we can control the interstate delivery of guns and weapons, there needs to be something like that. Yeah. And guess who really cares about gun control? People who have lost family members to senseless gun violence. Yeah. The mother or father who lost a child to the accidental misfiring of a weapon because of that. You know what I mean? That's who does that. That's who cares about that. And we need to care about those things. But until we can create the kind of trust and relationships that we can have.
Let me just throw something out there that I know people that 11 minutes. Oh, wow. Let me just say this then.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's just something simple like AB 392. That's a gun control law. You know what I mean? AB 392 is a gun control law.
Period.
Right? It's controlling these officers from pulling out the gun and shooting an unarmed person.
But see, that's why I feel like we need to, and I said this over and over again, we are going to get people in to interview folks and I feel like we need to create space. We need to do that. Let's try to make a commitment to next week. Even if it's every week and maybe 1 week we don't, whatever, let's create an opportunity.
We're supposed to be doing it.
But let's put our money where our mouth is.
Okay.
Let's try to create a scenario where we can sit down. Even when I say regular folks, I'm talking about people who ain't doing something X, Y, and Z. I'm talking about just regular people to talk about maybe we'll bring people in to have something that they're trying to do so that they can actually talk about it. But let's have these conversations with folks who may not have had the opportunity to talk about what they think gun control is or whatever. Let's have the conversation. Let's do that because that's important and people need to hear that. Let me read a couple of comments and then we'll get up out of here.
Okay. We're about an hour already?
Yeah, we are. He said, until all lives really do matter, it will remain the same. I agree. And he says, we don't matter. This is Chaz says, we don't matter in the grand scheme. At the end of the day, Black people really don't matter. And that's, let's just, in the grand scheme of things, when we're talking about compassion and people dealing with stuff, I agree. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. And that's where it goes back to framing the narrative, right? Because one of the things what I think he used the term, I'm using a little different, but what he was talking about is like the marketplace of what the mass of people think, right? And I think that we have to reframe those narratives. And that's why I talk to people all the time about, because like when there's a shooting in our community, the first thing they think, oh, he was a gang banger, he was a drug dealer, whatever, he got what
somehow he deserved it.
He deserved it, right? So that narrative has to be reframed. And that was one of the things that we were trying to do when we was having our Dove visuals, right? Putting a human value and a human face on a life that was lost. So people can see this person, hear his story, hear about his stories, to know that this was a person, a human being that lost his life, that has value. Because I believe in the grand scheme of things, even when you talk about people, whether you're looking at institutions or structures or systems that are racist and it's institutionalized, I believe that a lot of people bought into that because the way narratives are framed, but basically within themselves, they think that they're pretty decent and fair people. And if that is the case, if a person is fair-minded, and you can frame a narrative a certain way to get them to understand that the way that they're thinking or the way things are happening to us is not fair and something needs to be done about it, I believe you can draw some masses over there. Because especially in San Diego, 4% in the county and 6% in the city of Black people. So, we're going to need some allies, you know what I mean, to really come on our side when we're trying to push these issues. And it's all about the narrative and how you frame the narrative, because the stereotypes is on TV. The stereotypes is even the way the police think. The police can't help themselves, right? And I say that in a sarcasm, but they can't help themselves when it comes to us, right? They can be trained, they can have laws, they can have everything, they can go to implicit bias, explicit bias trainings, and all this kind of stuff. But soon they get out on the street and they see a Black person, first thing they see is a criminal. It automatically just comes right back up. He's a crook, he's a criminal, he's a gang member, whatever. Are you on probation? Got to search your car? All these other different kind of things, and so on. And so I know that that's true, right? That we have people that have those biases and those racist ideas about us, but also if we want to change it from the perspective that, okay, you're going to think this way anyway, so we're going to make a law where you can't pull me over unless you absolutely have a reason to. Not so much using a pretext side, but really a real reason. And we're going to investigate. We're going to hold accountability. We're going to make you be transparent in that. And if we find out you pulling over, doing racial profiling, pulling people over when they shouldn't, you're going to get fired and lose your job. You know what I mean? So then you, like Martin Luther King said, you can't legislate holdings, but you can regulate behaviors,
Yeah, I agree.
That's what we want to do.
I agree. Chaz Hines says, as a thinking, reasonable Black man with a normal amount of empathy, I am seriously reaching my limit on watching other so-called oppressed groups, many one wouldn't even know existed if they didn't self-identify, push past us on the public sympathy scale.
He's hitting it on the head, man.
I'm telling you, it's prolific. And the reason why you can't come on is because you don't have an Apple product, brother. But so we got to do something about that.
Exactly.
I'm looking at other people coming on that I could bring on camera. So I just
okay.
He said, I am always Black and can't choose to be perceived as anything else.
That's right.
Even an acquitted Black man gets villainized while a convicted murderer white woman gets martyred. Yes, I meant OJ. So and there's no disputing that. That's so true. There's a lot of people that push past the Black community, specifically ADOS community, that pass on, like, as he would say, on the sympathy scale. We sympathize for certain people and not for others. That's because ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, we don't matter. And that's so. And I just think we got to, again, sit at the table and just be honest about it. Let's stop with all the, whatever people don't want to admit certain things that they feel or believe.
Right.
We have a culture of not telling the truth, even to ourselves. We now have made it okay in the church for people to just believe whatever they want with no consequence. It don't matter. You can say and do whatever you want. And because you're popular, or you cannot say nothing. It's not just the folks that's saying whatever they want. It's the folks that ain't saying nothing.
Right.
And we think that that's okay. Someone speaking out, we all get lumped in one group.
Yeah.
You're either Westboro Baptist, bad person, or you're the super hyper conservative one that doesn't say anything.
Exactly.
And the only time you ever come out is when you want to vote.
Instead of get to know me.
Absolutely. People don't do that. And then Darcel Lamar says, this is what I think. This is what I think. None of this police corruption is never going to stop until they pick up he said SHIT, and he didn't spell it out, but he said in their own house, as long as you have cops who see this happen and ignore it, even though they may not be corrupt and their partner is, they are just as bad. And don't let the higher rankings be racist.
And that's happening.
Yes, it's a losing battle. He says, you'll never get a response from someone who isn't listening, never understand what is so wrong with doing the right thing. We all end up sleeping good at night, and they go home to their families. Why create an environment that would cut your chances? So his whole thing is, man, you create this, and this is what I perceive him saying, and you can finish, and we'll end on this.
Okay.
What I believe Darcel's saying right now is, at the end of the day, these systems are created, and they're perpetuated. They're lived in. They're normalized. People just kind of going in and going out, checking in their weapons, checking out their weapons, putting on the uniforms, talking small talk in the locker room, just living however they want to live, go to the lineups, have jokes and make fun and do whatever, and completely wipe out of their mind the fact that tonight you could actually use a weapon. And part of the comfort level of doing it is knowing to a degree that nothing's going to happen to you if you make a mistake. That doesn't make you a better officer. Something inside a person's mind. Before I used to leave for work, when my kids were little, before I would leave for work, knowing that it could be the last time I see my family. It's a reality. My
Mhm.
life is my job is dangerous.
Yeah.
My job is dangerous, and I could lose my life
Mhm.
at any time. So every morning I would kiss my wife,
Mhm.
I would kiss my oldest daughter,
Mhm.
and I would kiss my youngest daughter.
Mhm.
All the while until they got older and started sleeping. And
Mhm.
young
Mhm.
girls, they and I
Those
don't
things,
want to go
yeah.
in their rooms
Right.
anymore, right? My wife is the only one that just walks
Right,
in.
right,
I haven't done that in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But as a young, because I realized, and that has never changed on my job,
Mhm.
but I also realized that if somebody on my crew, if somebody in my line of work makes a mistake, we don't get to just brush it under the rug.
Right.
Because of the type of work that we do, it gets investigated and there are consequences.
Right.
People lose their license, they lose certificates,
Mhm.
they lose, and so there's just a different level of scrutiny that comes in certain careers where people are charged to keep the public safe.
And here's what I'll say to that is that when you look at the police and the culture and what we're talking about, they continue to do these things and so on because it's within their culture and so on. One of the things I want to say about that is the Police Officers Association and politicians help to keep that in place, right? And what I mean by that is that like right now, Todd Gloria, got endorsed by the San Diego Police Officers Association. That's scary. And he could actually win the election, right? If Tasha don't win. And so when you look at that and when you see that, all that's going to happen is he's going to be silent and quiet like Mayor Faulkner is, and he's going to be act like a Republican, and he's going to support them in whatever they do. He's not going to be hard and demand they fire, get a new chief, and all these other kind of things.
Maybe like the Dallas,
unless he want to, maybe if he want to sit down and have a conversation, because I still like to have a conversation with him and to ask him about this stuff, because the way it seems right now, they're just going to continue to perpetuate what is already there. And so they safeguard systemic racism, they safeguard the corrupt police culture that is already there, and it continues on. It's an ongoing thing because we have no one, as you said, Tasha says, accountability, right? To come in and hold these guys accountable and so on. And so we need that, but people, they act like they want accountability, but they don't. We see that with the president of the United States, right? Ain't nothing gonna happen to him in all this stuff, with all the crooked and twisted stuff that he's done. He's getting away with it, right? Obama couldn't have gotten away with all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying it because I didn't really like Obama myself anyway, but as a black man, he could not have gotten away with that kind of stuff. And so we see that this system that we're being oppressed under continues on because of people like that, the politicians, the police, the school system, the prison system, educational system, the labor market, even the unions, brother, they racist too, and they got issues. You know what I mean? Thank God what they're doing with you, and even some politicians, they come in and all they do is support unions and LGBTQ stuff, and that's all you see, or women's rights and all that. But you never see them really jump on the black agenda. You never hear them really talk about what they're going to do, what's happening to black folks, right? And so we have a serious problem with that. And I'm just kind of like getting tired of it, man. You try to I don't see these people really as my allies. You know what I mean? I really don't. They don't care about us. And so we have to care about ourselves. But I think that, as a block here in San Diego, black people have power. And especially the way things are divided now, if we can really come together, we can really frame and shape stuff, right? And so, but the way it looks is like they're dividing us up. People over here with Todd, people over here with Barbara, people over here with Tasha, and I'm talking about black people instead of us all coming together and all over the place where you can't make the difference in the vote, right? We should, and especially like if it slims down and you look like all of them are 15, 15, 15 or whatever, or what would it be? 30, 30, 30 or 30 or whatever, make 100. And they all running neck to neck. All what have to happen is all the blacks rally over here to Tasha and she'll get it and win, right? And they say, oh man, this woman won. We never thought she believed it. But it can happen. All things are possible to him that believe. And there's nothing too hard for God that you can shock and shake the world. But it takes hard work. It takes really getting out there, making things happen, and us standing together to make it work. But they divided us, right? Folks rallying over here to Toggler, right? People concerned about money and funding and programs and all this other, and they don't care. When you talk about the churches and these folks run to these churches and stuff, but these churches don't care about what's happening in our community. They might show up to a meeting and things like that, but what are they doing every day? What are they doing on a daily basis to stand out, to speak out, and put their bodies on the line? They're not doing it. They're not doing it. But that's who these people run to. And I see it every day as a pastor. I've been in this thing for a long time now, since the 80s, as far as been saved, but for going on 24 years next month that I've been pastor, and I've seen it. I've seen it.
Well, I think, there's so much we could say. We could go on a whole.
I know you got to.
No, we could go on a whole other hour. I'm learning to just kind of let work.
That's what I say. What I preach. So I got to stop.
No, it's good. No, it's good. And I think it's. I just want to close on. What you just said right now. First of all, thanks to everybody that.
Thank you.
That
Thank
participated. It was amazing. I'll end with this, and I'll let you have your closing remarks, and we'll turn the video off. But. As far as this whole vote thing goes, people are not going to do anything until they get tired. Yeah. It's like with drug use, right? You can bring a person to rehab and do all the things that you can do. But the truth is, until a person gets sick and tired of being sick and tired, they ain't going to do nothing. Right. I also believe that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And so when you see money itself is amoral, right? You got $1 in your pocket. That dollar can't speak, can't say nothing. That dollar don't have any idea what the value of it is. It ain't making you do nothing. But it's the emotion that we put into that dollar. Yeah. So what we see a lot in our community is in the Black community is that Black folks align with these political folks to try to get grant money and to try to get opportunities. We are allowing people to put our souls on the block so that we can get a voucher. And ain't none of them giving really no real bread either. Ain't none of them, because I see the way some of it. And they require you to work so much harder. I don't want to start clowning, but I see some of their toes. I know some of them ain't got no money. So whatever you doing all this and you ain't got no bread, and I ain't trying to, but I'm just like, stop it. Yeah. If you're gonna sell out, at least make it a one-hitter quitter. Like exactly. Do it and you can go retire by your island or something. Some of y'all doing stuff just enough to last you till you need to beg again. Exactly. It's ridiculous. Like you're not even getting paid, and so. My thing is what happens is that folks like Tasha come around and she begins to say things that are very controversial, and they're controversial because they expose things. Is Tasha perfect? Who is? Nobody is. So don't even say that it don't matter. Yeah, she makes mistakes or whatever. That's fine. I make a lot. But my point is the things she's saying is true. You can't parade people around the Black community that's making promises for the community that you parade them around, and they ain't never done nothing so far. And all I'm saying is show me receipts. I'm so tired of people coming over enjoying the fruits. It's like coming to the house it's like if a woman puts herself in a position where the only time a person wants to come to your house is to have sex and don't care if you're not eating, none of those things. If only thing person wants is a pleasured experience from you, there's something wrong with that person. And that's what people do to us. They find the people who are already vultures, they latch onto them, make all kinds of political commitments to them, and these people bring them around the community. And because we don't ask enough questions, we end up getting we get blindsided and we get clowned when it comes to stuff like this. Last thing I'll say, I was talking to somebody the other day that was asking me if I wanted to partake in a particular opportunity. And I said no. And this person said, can we just get people involved in something that they're trying to do? And I said, I'm not going to bring this opportunity to anybody until we can actually tell the community why this opportunity may or may not, and let them see that it's good for them. Because what I'm tired of is people bringing these ideas over to the community and using up the community and all the things that they want and we have to stop perpetuating the behavior that allows people to come over and tell the Black community what we want, need, how we feel, how we should think about stuff. We can't do that. And if we can't explain how this is going to benefit the Black community in some way, we ought to stop bringing stuff like that over. Exactly. So I just want to say, my heart is with my little sister, Tasha. My heart is there. And the reason why that is, and we don't push too much political stuff because that's not all we want to be known for. This isn't an opportunity for us to push the candidates that we like, but I just love Tasha. I love since the day that I met her, she has been a friend to me. She loves my family. My family loves her. We just had lunch today together. All of us did, our family. And I love what she stands for. And I have seen her in opportunities where she could have done something different and she didn't, and it would have benefited her. And so I just believe in her. I believe in what she does, faults and all. I believe in Aramik, faults and all. I believe in Mika, faults and all. She's not perfect. I understand that. We were brought up in a system that doesn't allow us to necessarily always do and be and say what we want or we even know how to do. You know what I mean? And so, but as a young Black woman that's trying to do things like, I love Aramik. I appreciate her. You know what I mean? I love the folks that are in our community that are doing things. I love Kenya Taylor because of the fact that she's a Delta. She's a part of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority incorporated for one. So I love Deltas. They just the bomb to me, but I love, and it's difficult for me to automatically just take a position against somebody Black simply because if you do something stupid, I'm going to call you out for it, but it doesn't mean I hate you. But I just feel like, man, we just got to be careful. I love the Black community. I love what we stand for. And, and I support the Black community 100%. That's what I want to say.
Yeah. My thing is, first thing is, and I know a lot of people probably already listened to it, but if you haven't, go listen to The Ballad or the Bullet. Malcolm X. Okay. The Ballad or the Bullet is on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. The Ballad. And that's a powerful speech. It's ranked in this country as one of the top 10 speeches in the world, or the country, I should say. And so it's a powerful speech, and that's what he's talking about, the Black vote, the ballot or the bullet. And he used examples of, like what these politicians do, non-Black politicians do. They'll go meet with some of the so-called Black leaders, have coffee, and that way he's telling the community that this man is all right. He said those days are long gone. He said it's over with. We control our own communities, right? And that's where we got to get back to with that. And so the other thing that I would say in closing is that I think that when it comes to our community and dealing with politics, dealing with the criminal justice system, which includes how our community is police and the economic system, educational system, and things like that, we're going to have to really, really, really stop thinking like white people think. And I mean that even with our politicians that we elect in there, because I see some things, I'm tired of coming to meetings and I ain't sharing my ideas with nobody. You know what I mean? Because I've done that and have my stuff stolen, or we just waste our time. It's time to move to action. And I'm not, and my thing is that I'm not locked in to just voting for you because you're Black, because there are a lot of Black people that sell us out. They come and act like they're Black. They show up to our Black events and all these other kind of things, take the photo ops and everything. But I've seen how they do things. They'll sell you out for more votes or for more popularity or whatever it is. And so, and the way some of these people think. So just because you're Black, that don't mean you understand the Black struggle. So it's going to have to be somebody that's for sure to understand the Black struggle, or you won't get my vote. And I think that's the way we should be. We shouldn't be locked in on anybody. The door should be open for anybody who will come through and push forth a Black agenda for Black people. And that's what we should be about. And that's what we should be fighting about. And at least on a national level, we still need to keep having those discussions about reparations.
I love it. Well, hey, as we always say, thank you all for hanging there with us. Some of y'all been here the whole time. We appreciate you.
Yes.
We love y'all. If nobody told you they love you today, we love you. We're looking forward to having some good conversations with some common folks. We want to invite some common folks to come by and just kind of hear what people have to say. Create an environment that allows people to be able to tell their own story. We always talk about creating a narrative. We want you to be able to do that. So we hope to see y'all again. Thank you again so much for being a part of our discussion tonight with the Bishop and I. He's the Bishop. I'm the I. That's my guy, man. I love you, man. I appreciate
love you too, man.
All right, take care, you guys.
God bless you guys.